Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of Syncing with ServiceNow. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. I've got Mike Sabia and John Dahl with me. Mike, how's it going out there in California? No,
Colorado. So
Colorado.
close.
Sorry, it's close. That's what I meant to say. It just came out as California.
It
Uh,
it's going well. I was just talking with John this morning that we're going to switch temperatures this coming weekend. He's going to be only in the 90s. I'm going to be in 100. Usually the opposite.
yeah, yours is a dry 100 though, right?
It is.
So you go outside and sizzle, but then you can find the shade and cool off.
Mm-hmm. And
Uh,
Colorado really isn't that bad when hot if you're in the shade.
what altitude are you at?
I'm around 50, 100 or so,
Okay.
somewhere around there.
That's up there. I know it gets a lot higher, another 5,000 feet, but that's pretty high as far as I'm concerned.
Hmm.
Yeah. John Dahl, how's it going? You're Texas. I want to say Houston.
Yep, Houston, Texas, and
Yeah.
we're doing just fine here. The humidity is down to a reasonable 80%, I think.
Yeah. I was there last week actually for a little bit, and it was, it was warm. It's that time of year though, so can't really complain about it. We know it's coming. It's not like it's a surprise. We always act like it's a surprise every year. Not a surprise.
It makes you enjoy the pools and lakes that much more.
Yeah, for sure.
Indeed.
So, guys, Mike and John brought a topic today, and it's from a blog entitled "Scan, Understand, and Activate On-Screen Data uh, On-Screen Data with Lens." Mike, what's this all about, and why'd you pick this one?
Well, first I'll say that when I first saw the word lens, I a couple weeks, months ago. I thought it was talking about Google Lens and how this interfaced with ServiceNow. And there are some parallels, but this is definitely ServiceNow Lens. If you're familiar with Google Lens, I used it a couple months ago when I went out of country to scan a menu that was in another country, and it immediately translated,
Hmm.
which was fantastic. And there's some parallels here with ServiceNow where you could be doing your job and you have some data which is not in ServiceNow. And briefly, ServiceNow has the ability to use their Lens product to look at that data, whether it be a log file or an email, and pull in the appropriate data and maybe even do a little bit more and assess
Yeah.
and based on the prompts, digest it and make recommendations.
Interesting. So would you call this, I'm probably getting ahead of myself here. Is this generative AI or is this agentic AI?
Um, I mean, there have been capabilities before Lens with RPA, robotic processing automation, where they allow for you to scan a PDF or go to a website that doesn't have an API and get that data. I'd say it's a little further than that. And the article, this particular blog even mentions that the generative AI actually goes and looks at the data and actually looks to see what it is. It could be as simple as, decide what the short description of the ticket is, but it could, pull the appropriate information. So I'd definitely say it's on the generative AI side.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I would guess coming into it. John, what are you excited about as far as this blog goes?
Well, where ServiceNow's been pushing this idea of workflow data fabric, where you're trying to bring more of your enterprise data into availability for the various processes in ServiceNow. But that workflow data fabric has traditionally been more static. You define it in the enterprise and you just want to use it in the instance. The lens allows you to really do more ad hoc work. So Mike talked about a log file, but this could actually be just an error message that pops up on your screen. You can click and activate Lens, it'll look at that error message and it can generate the incident right from there. So this is more ad hoc, things that are happening right now. I need to capture this and I need to act on it. And it could be from a website that you're viewing, it could be from an email that you're looking at, it can be from just about anything, including images. It will extract the information from the image and it will use the generative AI capabilities, the analysis capabilities to derive meaning from it.
Yeah. So I'm going to hold off on my question around how this applies to the platform and how it impacts business and enterprise. Maybe that'll be discovered through the conversation, but I'm very curious as to what this is going to mean for, ServiceNow customers. Um, Mike, this first section tries to explain with a picture included what Lens is. Can you do your best to articulate what this is covering?
I mean, it's very similar to what John Howard already said. It's the idea that you are on a ticket, you scan that information or that image or the log file, that with the LM, it understands what the important portions of that are, and then it can, create that ticket for you or I guess extensively, it could do orchestration based on that.
So is this something where I, as a service person, would have a ticket, Lens would take it and digest it for me and give me a good starting foundation? Or is this something where Lens is going to take it, solve the problem, tell me what it did, and tell me to close the ticket, or maybe even close the ticket?
I think with anybody getting into generative AI, you probably need to take some first steps first before you run it. Focus on understanding what it is and creating the tickets, and then as you get familiar and comfortable with that, then go that next stage into, hey, what can we do to orchestrate
Yeah.
and automate this?
So that's how I look at AI, or generative AI specifically. At least now, at the moment, it doesn't do the job for you. It might be able to soon. In fact, it might could do it now, but at a minimum, it's a coach.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes back to, is it an LLM or is it agentic? And, what we've seen in the last 6 months, year, however long it's been, is it digests that information, or you query it, it gives that information. And agentic is where it kind of does it on your behalf. Somebody, submits a ticket, and without a user choosing to use it, it goes and does the analysis and orchestration lever and makes it happen.
Yeah.
So I think this is a little bit more on the hands-on and a little less agentic, in that the product, and particularly this article, focuses on, hey, I'm doing this now, I want to do that. But it can extend further. It could maybe make recommendations. It could maybe even kick some of those items off.
Here's what I'm most excited about, and it's going to sound really kind of silly. I have tried since my days at Microsoft on a support desk to coach people into, yes, solving the problem as far as they know, but always asking for buy-in and acceptance from the person who opened the ticket. Did I solve your problem before just closing the ticket? I've given up on training human beings to do that. I hope that AI can be trained to do that. And that's part of the final process is, did I solve your problem? And if the answer is anything other than yes, I need to know what I need to do better, or what I need to continue with.
I think they're gonna, the people who are setting this up will absolutely, where appropriate, ask those questions. If
Yeah.
it's something that's, maybe some log file and it does it automatically, maybe it'll do it without interaction. But if it's initiated by a customer, yeah, of course it's going to ask, hey, did I solve your problem?
Yeah. Hey, John, what did Mike miss in the kind of the general coverage of what this is?
Well, it's again, it's really about extracting meaning from the kinds of data that isn't already in ServiceNow. So as long as you can, as long as you know how to respond to that data that you're extracting, there's a lot that you can do with it. It really is designed around helping a user be more productive with what they're already doing. And it has the same caveats that Now Assist does, right? Make sure that you understand what it's doing and that you can confirm or correct what's there. And it gives you a chance to actually to put in their custom instructions in the prompt before it processes the information. So it really is designed around making a user more efficient at what they're already doing.
And, AI that works, that's pretty much the basics of it these days. And it just making us
Yep.
all faster and better and more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mike, you may already cover this, but this walking through the article, it says, how does it work? So how does Lens work?
So this is kind of like a practical explanation of it. You would be on an incident, because that's what we've been talking about. You would say, hey, I want to create with Lens, and there's a button, and it would initiate the Lens product to come up. You point it to whatever screen has that error message or screenshot, and then you do analyze. And it does the analysis, and it scans the log message and then it fills out that incident with the appropriate details. And then, per what John just said, it also allows a resolution if prompted for, and you can adjust the query on what you're looking to get out of that the record that you are scanning.
So interesting, because obviously we do a lot of end user computing. We have a product called Control Up. I could see this being a world where it can read and see what's on the screen. Meanwhile, it's grabbing real-time data and historical data from Control Up, using all that to within seconds give an analysis of what's going on.
Even if you're talking about providing support to an end user and you've got a screen share up, right? Screen shares are essentially images. in terms of what the agents can see. They can't easily select and capture that information. Well, this allows you to capture that information right off the screen share and enter it into the ticket, including taking the error code that's being displayed, potentially looking up knowledge articles automatically that refer to it, and so on.
Yeah. No, this is great. That real-time troubleshooting use case where not only, okay, let's say I'm not even doing a screen capture, it just sees what's on the screen in parallel with me, the support person. It's reading the data real time analytics, either showing it to me or not. And it's saying, hey, here's the three things I think are going wrong here. What do you think? That sounds like Nirvana, really.
Mhm.
Key features of Lens. Mike, I'm going to walk you through these one time. The first one is
Yeah.
on-demand data extraction.
Yeah, I mean, be able to pull that data out of whatever source you're looking at. Screenshot, log file, image.
Yeah. Instant form or script filling.
So it takes that data that it just extracted and then fills out your ticket for you. Short description, pertinent information.
All right, so I didn't think about this part. Not only is it suggesting to the support person or just doing it what's wrong, it's literally putting in the notes simultaneously, which as someone who's done support in my past, doing both those things at the same time is kind of a struggle.
Mhm.
Support for custom prompts.
So rather than simply scanning it and it determining what you want, you might want to say, hey, look at the error log or the error message rather, or summarize the key points in this message. Whatever you want the lens to gather out of that data.
Yeah. Multi-capture.
You can capture data from more than one source and then bring it together. It's not just a single screenshot or single log file. It can look at multiple items.
Yeah, that true multi-threaded, looking everywhere simultaneously, things a human could never begin to keep up with. Standalone mode.
You can be on the PC, it can be on your mobile device, anything on the screen. You can add that prompt, get that initial immediate analysis. So it's available in that standalone mode.
Secure user session.
Um, well, you can put controls about who is able to use it and what permissions they need in order to do it, and then put some structure around what happens with that data, who can access it. You don't want to
Multi
scan it and then have somebody else be able to go in there and look at that information that you scanned in.
And then finally, the last one, multi-persona usage.
The fact that's useful for different people. It could be useful to the requester, the developer who or I'm getting jumped ahead, the requester who's submitting it, the agent who's fulfilling it, or even a developer to say, hey, look at this and maybe create a script to do something automatically.
Yeah. All right, John, you heard all those. Any of these you want to double click on and explain further?
Well, I tend to like the help that it gives you for support, right? So as you're working through something with a customer, and especially if you're watching them reproduce the issue that you're supporting, you can simply just grab those snapshots along the way and it compiles it all together and says, okay, here's what I observed and here's what I think you should do after it.
Yeah. So guys, I'm going to give you both the opportunity to answer this question. If you had this somewhere in your past, give me one example of where you think it would have really just been very helpful. John, go ahead.
Uh, I, as soon as you said it, it kind of triggered kind of an old nightmarish thing for me, right? So as you're trying to write notes and listening to the customer, you're writing notes behind a few seconds behind what the customer is saying, and it's difficult to pay attention and hear the new content as you're writing notes about the old content. I think this would have made it a lot easier to be able to focus on the customer and make sure they understood that I care about what they're telling me.
Yeah. Mike, how about you?
I think John's point is great, and it's not just something that would help us in the past, but it helps us today and tomorrow. If we were having a workshop with a customer, be able to grab a screenshot of the reverse demo of their current product to see what maybe some categories are on that record, be able to
Yeah.
pull that information out rather than having to type it in yourself, or maybe use some tool that'll do some OCR, some optical character recognition. I would say that's that's where I'm looking to use it now. I'm sure I could come up with a number of examples in the past. I want to say that it would help me pull out the proper questions out of a user. We've all been in conversations where they present information. You have to then ask the appropriate questions. I'm not quite sure it's there yet, but that would be my hope, that it goes even further to suggest questions based on that data.
How about this one? I assume you guys have both done support somewhere along the way. Some of the times you're just triaging and more importantly, trying to de-escalate the situation. What if you could do that and simultaneously working on the ticket? To me, that seems like that could have some huge benefits as well. But
Yeah, to
yeah,
have that conversation while, just a couple clicks, say, hey, look at this and analyze it. So your focus is on the customer rather than the ticket. I could definitely see that could help out.
yeah. Go
But
back to
that could sometimes give a customer a sense that you could do everything at once, and that's not always possible. You have to be able to say, hey, this is something new. I want to make sure I give you the correct and best answer. So, oftentimes we'll still take that offline, but to have that tool, to John's point, take that information, grab that information, maybe summarize that information as we're going, so we can, focus on the customer. That's key.
I think your comment about not doing everything at one time is true and impossible. However, it's fair to say with tools like this, we're going to be able to do a whole lot more simultaneously than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, that kind of wraps this up. Mike, anything we didn't cover in this topic that you want to bring up?
Of course, anything that's LLM related has licensing impacts. ServiceNow with Now Assist puts a certain number of calculations based on certain actions, and sometimes because it has to query the LLM and then requery it, they put a budget of, hey, this is going to take 5 actions to do this type of thing. I'm curious to see how this works out. And with any LLM situation, you need to pull out an ROI. And for our customers who maybe listen to this, if you had questions or interest in this product, please reach out to us and we'll have some further discussion.
Yeah. John, anything we didn't cover you want to bring up?
Yeah, as always, there are caveats related to any kind of AI solution. With normal AI integrations that ServiceNow has promoted, you've understood ahead of time while you're defining it. This is more ad hoc. It's important to understand that you don't want to capture sensitive information and provide that as source material for the LLM to train and potentially give to other people. So just be aware of what information you're exposing.
But
That's
just what
I wasn't going to bring that up because it was like kind of a downer on the topic. But I appreciate that you did, because I had the same thing. Like, okay, I get you can see my screen and what I'm telling you my error code is and what I'm working on. You can also see everything else on my screen and capture it real time with lots of magnitude associated with what you saw and what you could do with it. Mike, go ahead.
I would say that that's always an issue. Anybody could do a screenshot at any point to find information that's in the background. That's one of the reasons why that we tend to share a application rather than the whole desktop. But going to what John said about giving data to LLM, ServiceNow does have its own LLM, so everything stays within ServiceNow as long as you have that agreement. So it's not like it's going out to ChatGPT, though ServiceNow does allow you to integrate with those external LLMs as well.
I had an interesting moment in our CRM last night. I think I went to say a customer asked me about a model number and I plugged it into Microsoft Copilot. Not only did it give me the information on the internet about that model of device, it also went into our system and pulled a quote from a month ago for the same customer and said, oh, it's just like the one you sold him a month ago. And I was like, oh my God, that was unbelievably fast and powerful.
Yep.
No. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. Look forward to doing it again another week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Andy.
Have a
John.
good one.